In this episode, we talked to Ari out of Chicago from Psicolofia, a branding agency that works a lot with different brands from across the world and across the country. And she's going to talk to us about three sets of tools that she's used to really grow her business. And it's been an amazing journey for her. And I can't wait for you to hear what we're going to talk about. But before we do that, subscribe to us, give us a rating, like us. It's always important when you can come behind and give us your feedback as we produce these content for you. And we really hope that it's beneficial. So without further ado, let's go and have a chat with Ari. Hello, Ari. Welcome to my show. How are you today?
Hi, Ricardo. I am good. How about you?
I am blessed. I'm blessed and highly favored. So my grandma actually taught me how to say that. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm great. I'm doing great. How is Chicago?
Funny you should ask, right? We had a really nice weather and then we got a blizzard. Now it's like sort of cold but sunny. It's like, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know
oh
anymore,
wow.
to
There's
be
many
honest.
moods of Chicago, right? It's it's pretty awesome. Well, I know my users are dying to know who you are, so we're gonna jump right in and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ari Krzyzek. I am the co-founder and chief creative officer at Psicolofia. We are a digital brand consultancy, primarily helping femtech, D2C, and women-led brands starting from their strategy for their brand foundation into all things UI UX, as well as design and implementation for all things on the web.
Nice. That sounds quite interesting. So tell us about this journey. Like, how did you get to this point? Did you always want to do this? Like, talk to us about your journey to here.
Oh man. Okay, my journey is pretty complicated, but I'm gonna try to streamline it a little bit. I started off as a graphic designer. I was
Mhm,
born and raised in Bali, Indonesia. And you might be able to imagine that I probably did not get a lot of, income through that
mhm,
particular gig, right?
mhm,
I was only paid $250 per month at the time. So this like what, 12, 13 years ago. And when my husband, back then he was my fiance, asked me,
mhm.
"Hey, Ari, just curious here. You seem to be really excited about your work, but how much do you get paid?" So I told him that number and he was shocked, obviously, since he's like, from US, right? And has been growing up here. He was asking me, "Are you sure you don't add another zero at the end?" It's like, nope, it's just 250. And from that discussion, it ended up becoming a quick course to like freelancing, a quick course to like digital nomad, and even like trying to find work online. So that got me really intrigued. And I started becoming a freelancer 2 weeks after that. So I quit my job, like went on full freelancer mode and started off as a pretty much a freelance designer. Now, a couple of years later, when we finally got married here in the United States, right? I moved from LA to Chicago in 2011. My husband asked me again, "So Ari, do you want to be my business partner? Would you want to build a company together?" I was like, "Sure, what could go wrong?" Right? It was very dangerous, very dangerous because we just got married and trying to create boundaries between personal life and professional life was really challenging for our first couple of years. So you might also imagine that our first couple of years was a hot disaster.
Right.
Oh, yeah, total disaster. But I think we just truly want to do our own thing, right?
Mhm.
And we truly believe that this company could work. We can, figure things out. And we ended up did simply because I was fortunate to have mentor that would tell us, okay, you guys, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to set up, things that you definitely need to, put in order, especially around boundaries, like who's going to do what, who's responsible for what, right? So it was a lot of, I would say, learning for us because we did not come from like business background at all. We're like creators. My husband is a full on nerds, right? And we just like relearning everything. But after being so resilient in this journey, and a lot of you who are entrepreneurs out there could also relate, you just figure things out. You find a way to stay in your lane and also pursue that goal you truly want to do. Right. So that's what we did. And yeah, now we're in business for 11 years. Can you imagine?
Wow. Wow.
11 years. We're at 12 people now. I was able to just like, move up the ladder on my own, obviously, right? Trying to,
Nice.
manage everything from becoming a just designer and now working with my team, also collaborating with our clients and everything. It's just super exciting in a way that I don't think I was able to do this on my own, but with the help of my mentors, my husband, and also all the people around us. It's just fascinating to me the support that you get as an entrepreneur from other as well. It's
Mhm.
tremendous.
Amazing. What an incredible journey. And congratulations. You've stuck with it. And before you know it was 11 years. And I'm sure you've got what it takes to do 11 more years and even 22 more years, right? So that's great. That's really awesome. And I know we were talking about a set of tools that you've used to help you perhaps during parts or all of those 11 years you've built up your business. Let's dive into that. Let's talk about those tools now. What are they? Because we're talking about a set. I think it's three sets of three tools that basically can be used as a set.
Yes.
Let's talk about those. Let's talk about those now.
Okay. So the three tools that I would highly recommend everybody take a look at would be salesmate.io. It's a web app, right? And the second one would be Plutio. So that's plutio.com, I believe. It's also a web app, although they do have, separate apps for your phone as well as your desktop application.
Mhm.
And the third one would be Flowmapp. This one is exclusively web application. And I believe it's flowmapp.com. Now, all these three, apps, I personally feel it's like interconnecting simply because it ties in very much with your cycle for the sales process,
Mhm.
right? So from the name salesmate.io, right? You can imagine this is all about sales thing. And it is a CRM specifically. I was looking at, a few different alternatives to house in our information for lead generation or even our current deals, and just like have a Rolodex of our contacts in one place, right? And I couldn't really do that with my project management system, which is plutio.com. I start using plutio.com simply because I thought we might as well use something that we already have. But plutio.com is a project management tool. It's not a CRM. So I think the biggest learning from this part, in my opinion, is that don't try to force a specific feature onto an app that is not meant to do said things, right? I know you might be able to do a little trick around that, you can, but at the end of the day, is it worth your time? Right?
Yeah.
Is it really like truly worth the time for you to figure things out and connecting things out all together? So I ended up just like, I need an actual CRM. So I just finally feel like I need an actual CRM that can truly help me streamline my process for all things related to sales. So the really good case of use for SalesMate, in my opinion, is that I connect it with my other system for my
Mhm.
sales, right? The way people typically reach out to me is via our website. So our website has this Calendly embed, and we would connect our Calendly to our salesmate so that whenever somebody reach out to us and ask for a booking appointment to discuss a new project or things like that, it will then create a new deal or a new opportunity technically inside our CRM salesmate.io. So having some automation around here is really helpful for us to know, like, okay, this is a new deal. We don't have to create like extra work, like transferring that over to our salesmate. And we have all the information that we need in one place. What I also find really cool on salesmate.io is that it connects with your email. So when you do reply to this particular, contact that you would be talking about for a new project, you can have that synced up with your emails. And you can also know when they open it, when they click on links, right? So it's really good to know, are they really looking at our message? Are they interested in, learning more about it if they click on the specific links we sent over? So tracking those behavior is very important for us to just kind of know, where are they in the process right now? Is there anything that we can do to influence their decision? Knowing that they are opening, the emails all the time, and you get this notification, hey, so and so is opening their email. You can get an idea, what else can you do in order to push that process forward for them, or maybe giving them an extra layer of attention and maybe say like, hey, we would like to follow up. Is there anything that maybe you have in mind for questions and things like that? So I think timing is also contribute here, because you then be able to make your own decision to follow up right away with said clients or said leads. So that, yeah. Have you heard of this one before, Ricardo?
Well, I've heard of it, but I have not actually used it myself. And
Yeah.
from what I've heard, they're really great. They're really great tools. I know SalesMate for sure, but the second one I've never actually heard of that one. Is it Fluido or Pluido? How do you spell that?
Plutio. It's like Pluto, but Plutio.
Okay, so Pluto like Plutio. Okay, so Plutio, right?
Yes.
That's got it.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure that for those who are listening, have that down. And the last one was Flowchart. Is
Flowmapp.
Flowmapp, Flowmap, right?
Double P at the end.
Okay, so Flow, Flowmapp. Awesome.
Yes.
So you talked a little about the SalesMate, and that's great how it's got these integration possibilities. You talk how you're able to kind of connect that to your calendar. So for listeners who are consultants and who have to kind of your major call to action is booking, right? Like you have to book a consultation and you have to talk to your prospects, and that's nice to push that contact into your CRM or into your application like SalesMate, like you said, and then obviously it also works with email. So that's great. Can you talk a little about the Flowmapp piece? Like, how does that come into the rest of the picture?
Yes, Flowmapp is a UX tool specifically. So if you are familiar with, sitemap, user flow, user journey, as well as creating persona for your own business, right? If you're in marketing or if you're in branding, you're probably very much familiar with these terminology. But essentially, though, this application really gives you a visual map of how do you track, a certain either channels or touch points, or even like what interaction are you expecting from a user to do in said page or that particular touch points and channels. I found these to be very useful, not just for us, but also for our clients, because we do a lot of website projects, right? It really helps them to really look at, if we have the website, right? Are we hooking it up with specific application? For example, maybe you are using Calendly for your bookings, or maybe you are using, something else for creating different types of experiences for your user. It could be maybe like, let's just say like e-commerce platform, or even like all of the other extensions or application that you have. So every single interaction that you have for the user on the website will result in something else. What is that something else, right? So the flow map, all of the information that they have for the user flow really gives you an idea. Okay, if user click on this button, what's going to happen? Do we have any other interaction for this particular, things that happen on the website? What can we do to make sure that the user still have not just the information, but they also will gain, delight throughout their experience, right? So you also, as the business owner, will able to at least see, is there a way we can automate a lot of these interactions, right? If a user send you an email and you don't have the time to reply to them right away, can you send out an automation, within 30 minutes of them sending that email, to send an auto reply asking them to do the next steps, whatever that might be? I think there's a lot of rooms to just kind of map out what interaction is going to look like and how that interaction is going to be implemented on your website, or even how that's going to influence all the other, system and tools that you have. So creating the automations is really helpful for us, but how do you map them out nicely so that everything it will be interconnected essentially?
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and I could see how that certainly helped with stuff like conversion and conversion
Yes.
optimization, of course, because the more folks you can get to convert on your site, then the more folks you'll have in your CRM, and then you'll be able to kind of work the CRM in that regard. So that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Now let's talk about who these tools are ideal for. And it sounds like, do I have to be a marketer to then work on these set of tools? So talk to me a little about the kind of verticals or folks who this would be ideal for.
Yeah, that's a good question.
This podcast is brought to you by MI Digital Hub. MI Digital Hub is a all-in-one 360-degree high-level experience of your digital presence on the web today. If you would like to understand where you are now, what does your digital presence look like today, visit midigitalhub.com. Gives you a full snapshot report on where you are when it comes to SEO, your performance, social media listing, your Google My Business listing. All of those things you will be able to find in a single tool like the MI Digital Hub. At the MI Digital Hub, you will be able to generate that snapshot report and manage exactly what's happening with your digital presence. So visit midigitalhub.com today. Check it out, generate your free report, and certainly dive in to see how you can make changes when it comes to your digital marketing. This podcast is brought to you by mMessenger. mMessenger is your all-in-one SMS tool to facilitate SMS messaging across 200 countries around the world. Visit mmessenger.co to learn how you can start using SMS for notifications, for alerts, for updates, whatever you'd like to share with your customers. mMessenger is the communication tool for you. mmessenger.co. Visit that location and you will be able to learn more about how you can get started today with mMessenger. This podcast is brought to you by MI Group. MI is your source for technology solutions, digital marketing, and hosting your digital assets on the web today. Visit migroupco.com to learn how you can utilize our services to help you grow your business quickly. migroupco.com to learn more.
I personally feel like everybody can use it as long as you have a business, right?
Yeah.
I would think it this way. If you are a business owner having a website, I think anybody who has a website should definitely get a Flowmapp account. They have a free account for one project. So essentially, you can create multiple projects inside of Flowmapp. Since you are a business owner and you typically would probably only have one business, right? So that's essentially a free account for you, which is nice because you can have Flowmapp to include all the different sitemap that you have on your pages so that you can keep track on what pages do I have on my website, right? What interaction do I have for my users? Who are my users? Because you can interconnect your persona with the, customer journey that you can create for them. So that is very handy tool, in my opinion. So anyone can truly leverage that tool. Mm-hmm. For Plutio, it's a project management system. I have seen a lot of, creative entrepreneurs or even like creative studios and agencies use Plutio, even though it is kind of like underrated tool. I feel Plutio has a lot of features that you can definitely leverage. If you want just like one particular central place for your all projects management and also like invoicing and proposal and contract with timesheet and different users for your project, I think the Plutio.com would be a really good investment for you. And for salesmate.io, I would also say salesmate.io could, be used for any types of business. I just feel like it's so flexible and super adaptable. You could create your own, like custom forms, custom modules and things like that, or even like different sets of lead system or lead pipeline. I think that's what they call it. So you could track multiple types of pipeline. It doesn't have to be just like a sales pipeline. It could be, maybe you have a speaking engagement pipeline that you want to track, right? It could be anything really. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in one particular industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how do you think I mean, there are lots of CRMs, lots of project management tools out there, and there's lots of UI sort of UX tools out there as well. But how do you think these tools differentiate themselves from everything else? Like, what are some of your top
Yeah.
differentiators you've experienced with this?
I'm a designer, so UI influenced a lot on me,
Right.
right? UI UX portion definitely influenced a lot for me on every single experience on this app. I would say though, Plutio could definitely use a rehaul on their UI and UX. However, the features that they have, the functionality that they have in there is tremendous for, the value and the price that they have. So I would definitely look into that. If UI UX is not, things that would make or break your decision, I would go with Plutio if you want a centralized place.
Mhm.
Now, with the two other apps, for example, on Flowmapp is very visual heavy, right? We are talking about all things related to map here. I've used other apps like, Adobe XD or even Figma and everything else to create sitemaps or even Balsamic. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that
Mhm. Mhm.
app. Balsamic is so old looking for me. So again, it's like the interface that is truly a big deal for me. And also the templated items that are available in Flowmap is very helpful, especially if you are not super familiar with user flow or even like user journey at the very beginning, or even like curating your own sitemap. You can use and leverage the templates that they have. So that makes it a lot easier for you to start rather than just like, hiring a graphic designer or hiring UI UX designer. If you don't have the budget for it yet, you can do it yourself using these templates.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I forgot to do the site. Sorry, salesmate.io, right? That one, to be honest, I have not looked at too many different types of CRM. I've
Mhm.
seen HubSpot. It's expensive though, although I've been told like it's really good. I'm saying I bet it is. But then I was also looking at Keep one time, and I mean, every single one of these essentially are doing the same thing, right? I would also look at, what is it you want it to do with a CRM? What's the top 5 things or top 5 features you really want to get and really use from these CRMs, and then make your decision based on that. I made the decision based on that specifically because we want to invest in something that is not super expensive, but it's not super cheap either, right? We are trying to find something in the middle, and I feel like SalesMate has truly given us that. And the fact that it is super editable and adaptable as well and super dynamic, I'm just honestly happy with it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great point. And let's talk a little about the integration piece, because I know you touched on some of the cases that would be useful for those tools already. But let's talk about the integration, because you talk about Calendly, which is outside of
Mm,
that set. What
yeah.
are some of the other tools that can be integrated with these set tools?
Yeah, gosh, I feel like a lot of the apps that we use day to day, like Gmail or even like our calendars and everything, a lot of these already have like, integration, right? We can easily connect them right away. And I think that's pretty standard to leverage all things related to Google
Mhm.
automatically. So you don't necessarily need to do extra work there. But for other third party like Calendly or even other maybe apps that you're using, I believe that you can always use Zapier or their third-party connection, like the API thing, for each of these 3 items. I do know, hang on, actually for Flowmapp, I don't think you can connect them as much though, because it is like a very specific tool. But Plutio do have integration. So that one you can certainly do a lot of different customization as well. You can connect your calendar so that the project management due dates and start date can sync up with your calendar. And I also know that they can pull in, specific data into your dashboard. They have this like nice dashboard where you can kind of edit it on your own, what metrics important to you and things like that related to project management. You can definitely customize that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that's great. And it's good to know because people are using so many different tools. So it's always good to know how you can stitch them all together, right?
Yeah.
So those who are listening and is interested in these tools, I thought you mentioned about one that it's there's a free account. So talk to me a little more about that. Or all of these tools, do they all have a free account, or do they do you have to pay? And then share the URL again right there for folks to they can go and visit and take a look at at how they can get on board and using these tools.
Sure thing. The one with the free account is flowmapp.com. So
Okay.
FLOWMAPP.com, right? So that one, if you only wanted to use one project, which is going to be your only business, then it's a free account. And I believe for SalesMate, you have 14 days trial. And then after that, you got to pay, right? And for Plutio, I can't remember, to be honest with you, because I got Plutio when it was the first year they were launching the product. So I got a good deal. But for those of you who are looking to, check it out, I would recommend taking a look at their AppSumo. I think they might still have that going on, but if not, I believe, it is pretty affordable for the value that they're giving.
Yeah. So, and you can go to the website and you can look at these tools. And of course, you can also go to, gmpodcast.migroupco.com. And that's where you'll see the show notes that will mention all of these tools in the show notes and the links, of course, to get access to them. So if you missed any of the URLs, don't sweat. We'll have them in the show notes. Staying in business for 11 years is not easy, Ari, and I know I know that as an entrepreneur, but how have you done it, and what would you say has been the best thing that happened?
Oh man, a lot of grit, a lot of resiliency, right? Definitely a lot of sleepless night as well sometimes. I think I wouldn't be able to go through all of these 11 years of business without the support of my family, my husband, alongside with my network, right? I think my network contributes so much in, giving me the feedback that I need, the support that I need, the connection that I need in case I need to, learn new things that I may not know. We talked earlier about, 10 KSB program from Goldman Sachs. I didn't even realize that program is super amazing if I haven't heard it from my network, right? So I think it was through my network, I not only learned so much, but I was also able to gain a lot and use a lot of these knowledge for my own business to grow. And to be honest, also for myself, right? I mean, we are growing as an entrepreneur, as some of us as a wife, as a husband, as mom, dad, whatnot. And we take all of these knowledge with us to make us, the better version of ourselves. So I think a lot of grit, definitely, like I mentioned earlier, and resiliency. But I would also say, the most rewarding things that I have accomplished in the past 11 years, man, there's a lot, Ricardo. I don't know if I can pick one. However, if I can pick one, I would say, yesterday was the International Women's Day.
Yes.
And I'm part of this women group called Entreprenista. they asked me a couple of weeks ago, hey, Ari, we'd like to feature you in one of our campaigns. So I did fill out the form and everything. What I didn't know is that they create the campaign to be showcased in the billboard in Times Square. I
Oh, wow.
was like, what? So I would say that just happened literally yesterday. And I felt like I didn't know how big of an impact that is for me, because I have never been to New York, Ricardo. So I did not even know like how big is this thing. But people keep telling me, not many people can say that their face has been featured in the Times Square. And I was like, really? Okay, so this is a big deal. So, I mean, like every single time when you feel that you are, getting this good news, or even like the small wins, maybe sometimes it is a big win, celebrate it, right? Because it's easy for us to just like keep chugging along and just like keep hustling and everything. But this little wins definitely makes you feel pumped up to show up every single morning and keep doing what you need to do.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I hope I'm in Times Square when it's showing, so I can text you and say, hey, check this out. We saw you. We saw you. But that's great. And of course, all the women, all the female listeners, happy International Women's Day. When you're hearing this, it would have been gone, but like we're always celebrating women every day,
Yes.
365 days a year. So kudos to you on that. No, that's amazing. And thanks for sharing that. Big shout out, of course, to Goldman Sachs, because we came from that community. We're a part of that community. And it's an amazing program. If you guys who are listening would like to check it out, you should do that. Is there anything, Ari, that I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with us?
Ooh, my husband and I currently are writing a book together, all about what we know in terms of like creating a good experience for the website and truly how to do it properly. So I'm excited for that. We're almost done with it, right?
Nice.
We're hoping to actually launch this sometime this year. So yeah, keep an eye out and I'll send you a copy.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Yes, you should send me a copy, and looking forward to that. And congrats. I think it's always good to, pass on your knowledge and to the next generation.
Yes.
And a book is an absolutely great tool to do that. Yeah. Now, speaking of books, I always like to ask my listeners, my guests, or rather, what books are they reading or have read that has made an impact for them? And also podcasts. So let's start with the books, and then we go to the podcast you listen.
Okay. There's a lot of books. However, what I can think of right now, the big one that truly make a big impact on me is this book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This one specifically talks about how do you handle, imposter syndrome, right? I dealt with that a lot in the past. And I think after reading that book, I finally realized you don't overcome your imposter syndrome. You're actually, making friends with your imposter syndrome, because it's still going to be there every single time that you feel uncomfortable, or you wanted to try something and yet you feel like, oh, am I good enough to try this? Or am I even qualified to do this? It's always going to be there. So to say that you overcome imposter syndrome, I think it's just not possible to do that. So you're just going to have to accept that it's always going to be there, and then always continuing challenging yourself, even though it's still going to pop up throughout your journey. And I would say also another book that is really good for, people to think through about their brand and everything. I think the name of the book is Brand Story, or Story Brand. And that's from, I believe, oh gosh, the name escaped me, but you know the book that I'm talking about, right?
I know the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Donald Miller's. There you go.
Donald Miller, yeah.
Yes. So those are the two books that I would highly recommend for you to check out.
Nice.
And podcasts, gosh, I love listening to podcasts called Two Bobs. So Two Bobs, basically number 2, and then BOBS if you want to search for it. This specific podcast talks about, journeys and experiences from creative agency owners, like from procurement, or even like how to deal with clients, how to create, culture for your employees and everything. I found a lot of value from this particular, podcast, simply because they're talking about high level agencies, right? While I'm not there yet, I can actually picture, oh, is that what's really happening in the agency world, in, higher level agency companies and things like that. So if you are in this particular industry, I highly recommend for you to check that out.
Nice. That's awesome. So Big Magic, that was the name, right?
Yes.
Big Magic and Story Brand, and then Two Bobs as your podcast. That's awesome. Now, we're always looking there for creators and master users of tools like what you shared with us today, or systems or framework, if you may, that has helped them to grow, and would love to share it with our listeners. Any recommendations on who you think we should be our next guest on this podcast?
Yes. I do have a couple of people in my mind, but I can't remember exactly their name, although I remember the faces. I will send that over to you, and then you can reach out to them.
Awesome. That's great. That's going to be really helpful. We'd love to get those folks on here. Listen, it's been an amazing conversation with you, sharing how you have done it and the tools that you're using to grow. And we really, really hope that this is not the last time we'll talk. We'd love to catch up with you a few more months from now. When your book is out, let us know and we can chat about it. I think we'd love to see exactly what you're pouring into us from there. But thank you so much for jumping in on our conversation today. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Be good. Bye. I hope you had enjoyed that conversation with Ari and myself around these 3 sets of tools that you can use right now to help you to grow your business. And I have a mentor who always say, when I look at my watch, there are 2 hands on there. There's now and there's right now. And as we share this content with you, it's about helping you to lean in, to find things that actually help you to grow your business. And I hope that was really helpful, as much as it was for me. But before we go, don't forget to subscribe to us. Give us a rating. Let us know what your thoughts are about this, so that we can provide content that's similar to this. So until next time, folks, don't forget to choose a tool to help you rule your growth. We'll talk soon.